All right, perfect. So this is gonna be here, ready for us to share, because we know that Sundays is a day most people are out and about, but it will be just a really nice video that people can reference, and yeah. So today's topic is blooming presence with the lovely Eva
Mm,
Maria, which I had the pleasure to meet some months ago, and we are really excited to talk about flowers and spring and rituals,
mm,
and so one of the most excited uh one of the days I've been most excited truly to wake up and get ready to really get to know more about the beautiful inner workings of you, because I think that you have such a beautifully deep, reverent relationship to plants that it really marks the difference. So
mm.
let's start with
Thank
your
you.
intro. Anything you want to say, and what makes you feel in full bloom?
Two big questions. Yeah, I want to say hi. It's lovely to be on the call with you and whoever sees this, whether they come on live or come on later. I'm sitting here in my little greenhouse in my garden, and the flowers are blooming and the birds are chirping, and there might be a neighbor with a lawnmower or something, so if some noise comes, that's from here. Um, Yeah, my name is Eva Maria. I help people come back into their own authenticity and this kind of sense of belonging to the earth and to themselves. And I work with many different modalities, but the main one really working with plant wisdom, working with plants as medicine, together with therapy and together with singing and like expression and music. Yeah, but I am originally trained as an engineer, so I do I do understand systems, which I guess is part of why I've been able to be an entrepreneur for the years that I have,
Yeah.
understanding structure and systems, and yeah. But I find I see myself as a bridge builder, really building bridges between the sacred and the mundane, and trying to do that as much as I can in my life, and also helping other people do that. So kind of this bridge between the wild forest and the city, and bringing that kind of sense of reverence and that sense of wonder or magic into normal moments, into life. Yeah.
Beautiful. And what
Oh,
makes
and
you
then you asked,
feel
yeah.
in full bloom? Tell us. You
Yeah,
had to you
well,
had to give us some anticipation energy.
um, I was thinking about this. You asked me this question right before we came on, and I have this when I have this feeling, and it's usually in nature, and it's usually in a ceremonial space where I have this inner feeling of deep reverence, like deep humbleness of like, wow, I really am a human that don't know anything. But also like, wow, there's so much to know. There's so much space in this life. So this kind of sense of wonder and humbleness, and also when I then get to sing and dance and play music and be in communion with nature and be in community. So like singing around a bonfire is really my jam. And those kind of slower ways of being together where we can really be in presence together and in reverence. Those are, yeah, I love it. And then I can just sit and sing for hours and hours and
Um,
hours. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that's one of the best ways to know that we are feeling alive and happy to be
Mm,
here is when we lose track of time, and it's as if that music feeds us and we don't need
mm,
physical food for as much, because it's nourishing the soul so much, and it's so
yeah.
beautiful. All right.
Yeah.
So so let's start with a little bit more about spring and oops, what plants maybe you have nearby, um, that you want to share about, and yeah, I think you have this really cool connection that makes us remember that the medicine is nearby, and so you don't
Mm,
make it feel like this unachievable journey.
yeah.
Make it feel really light, and again in reverence to the plant kingdom that's actually speaking to us already, whispering to us in our environment. So,
Mm.
so tell us a little more about what's around you and anything that you're inspired to share about.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I really, really appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also just to say that I have been on a journey out there, and I have been, moved to the jungle. I remember when I went there the first time, everybody's like, "Well, that's so brave, but that's also quite crazy." And so I've been living in the jungle of Peru, and I've been on those big, big journeys, and been in many, 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 many different type of ceremonies. And it's really been kind of a journey for me of reclaiming my own way. And I see that so much with the plants that are here. And again, this kind of way of, for me, everything is really about relationship to myself, to my own parts, to you, to my partner, to the world around me. And we tend to forget, exactly as you said, like we tend to forget the dandelion right outside of our door, but then we're like, I want to go to Mother Ayahuasca. But it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that kind of seeking is beautiful as well. And when you hear calling, and there's so much magic in this that we tend to have as mundane, or the weeds around us that we don't want to deal with. And I really do truly like see us as, we are nature and we are embedded in this. So the plants right around us, like they actually have what we need. And so if we're talking about the spring, one of the things that I love with the spring, obviously it's spring, and living in a Nordic country where it gets really cold and really dark, and mainly just dark and rainy for a lot of months. When spring comes, everything is like, yes, finally. So that you can really feel it here with the seasons, right? And it comes after this winter, which is a space of introversion. It's a space of dreaming. It's kind of in the old stories. It's more that all the spirits of the land goes down into the deep halls of Mother Earth. So it's really introverted. It's into the roots. It's ancestral work. It's also sometimes really hard in our shadow work. And so when spring comes, the plants that come, they come in a certain order. There's like a divine timing to it, which is really beautiful. And just to mention an example, like one of the first herbs we'll have popping up is nettle, which I love. And nettle is really, really nourishing. It's full of minerals that we need. Like, and if you work more biodynamic with your garden, you'll do like what we do, which is that you actually make fertilizer out of nettle. So you put nettle in water and let it stand for some time. So it's really seeing nettle as a plant that fertilizes our inner garden. So like, okay, it's been winter, it's been tough. We start with a fertilizer. We put minerals in. We put, and that's, if you know about, let's say, how to drink water, if you're dehydrated, if you just drink a whole bunch of water, you can get even more dehydrated because you actually need the right salt and minerals to be able to hold the water in your body, right? So this is the first. We get nettle, and she nourishes us, and she's sensual, and like you got to be present, and this kind of very dancing with. And I love, like, I always feel working with nettle, you got to do it with your hands bare. You got to work with her medicine, right? One of the next ones that are going to come is dandelion. I mean, now a lot of things comes at the same time. Dandelion works on our liver, right? Dandelion, I love this kind of rebel energy. Again, at least where I'm from here, there's a lot with like people that want their grass cut clean, and dandelion is like this, you can't control it, and dandelion doesn't fucking care. And that's kind of part of that energy from that plant, right? Really
A little
willpower.
rebellious.
Yes, rebellious and willpower, and it goes in and work on our liver and on that part of us that can go into stress and like the inner general, right? So I usually feel that these people that don't want dandelion in their garden really should get
Need it.
dandelion in their body. Like, it's like, wow, if you have this kind of control thing with your garden, like dandelion is the one for you, but also just really potent and powerful. A lot of women really likes working with this kind of, this willpower, this waking up, we get awakened. And then afterwards, after dandelion, I would say one of the next ones that I really enjoy, and they come around the same time, right? But it's in that, is cleavers. So it's this little, it like goes up on things and it gets sticky. And that one has this beautiful relationship with water. So cleavers is like, when you bring it in water, it kind of brings the aliveness back into the water. So here comes this plant about support, right? It can't stand by itself. It has to like crawl on the others. So it's really like, let yourself be supported, let yourself be
Mm.
nourished, bring water in, right? So you're like awoken the body, put minerals in, you awaken it with dandelion, and then you bring this kind of, oof.
And then you can
Yeah.
flow a little.
Yes, exactly. And then all the flowers starts popping at the same time. And then that's a perfect time to start doing flower baths and to really like this very, as I see it, many, many flowers have this very aliveness to them. You know, it
Mhm.
really is about stepping into this more kind of eros, alive, sensual. So I'm not saying sexual, it can be, but I mean sensual in like taste and smell and
Mm.
colors and being alive and not just being stressed and with the liver go, 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 right? But like enjoying it and like really tasting it.
Savoring the
So
moment, yes.
exactly. And then they'll have this beautiful dance, right? Where I think that's also such a great teacher that, you know, here at Mirabella, it's like a sort of a little wild plum. It's one of the first ones
Mm.
to bloom. And then comes,
Yeah.
you know, and a little around now, the apple tree is starting to bloom. And I think it's
Oh.
such a good, like to remember that these plants, they're not trying to see who goes first and who's like best at it. It's like, no, they all have their divine timing. Then the bees go here, and then something else happens here, and then this one comes, and like the hawthorn I'm sitting and looking at, it chooses to get leaves first, and then in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks it's going to start blooming, right? And then that kind of takes over. It's time to shine.
Mm.
So I feel that that kind of spring really invites in that aliveness and that like, hey, we all got our own divine timing. Let's, you know, and also I feel that many, like speaking of the energy of spring, um, I've heard this, you know, that people talk about that there's this dance between winter and spring where it gets cold again and then it gets warmer again.
Mm.
And for me, spring is actually the dance. Spring is not the polarity. Spring is the movement.
Right.
So in spring, there
It
is
exists.
this part. Yeah, exactly. It is the dance. And in the beginning, there's this part that still want to stick to the winter, still want to sleep, don't want to move yet. And there's this part that want to move. So it has that dancing kind of energy in it.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. So I think it's really neat to shine some light, some sunshine on what is it that would be a respectful, loving way to engage in this medicine of flower baths, for example.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel again with the plants around us, it's really about reciprocity. And we
Mhm.
can talk about sustainability, we can talk about like all these things. For me, it's about really respecting everything has a sovereignty, everything
Mhm.
has a spirit or an energy or personality, depending on how you see it, and really respecting that a plant is not like a cat. If a cat doesn't want to play with you, it scratches you and it leaves, right? That's a great clear boundary. A tree can't run away from you. Like, so a tree can't be like, hey, I actually don't want you to hug me right now. And
Mhm.
sometimes we're like, oh, but I want to hug this tree, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like, sorry, my phone just started again. It says like, I'm too hot. I don't know.
Ooh,
So
that
I feel
happens
like
when a lot of energy is moving.
and a lot of sunshine in here
And a
also.
lot of sunshine.
Yeah, so I feel like the first thing with like interacting with nature, I feel like there's this recognition that you're interacting with something that is alive and
Hmm.
has sovereignty just as you. So instead
Right.
of just taking from it, interacting with it. And nature is very generous. Like the plants and the trees and the herbs and the flowers, they're very, very generous. So most likely they're going to want to help you. But
Yeah.
this thing of taking it for granted is not a respectful way for me. So I think if you start looking at plants more like you would say with humans,
Right.
okay, if I want to go to you and I'm
Yeah, I think that's a really special point and is really thinking about the relationship we would have with friends, with making a new friend and applying that to plants, to this world that they are and acknowledging them for it. So I think that's really beautiful. It's for example, talking about, maybe wanting to make a lavender tea, and maybe you have fresh lavender that is growing around. So instead of just taking it, having a moment to breathe in, first of all, the beautiful gift that it is that you have access to this plant, and then to maybe greet it. And it sounds silly, but it's truly how we build relationships with friends, right? It's, hello, how are you? This is my name. Um, I want to ask you permission. May I take these flowers and maybe feel into it? Are these the best ones to take? Are these the ones best to take? Taking into account what would benefit me, but also taking into account what would benefit you as this lavender plant. So I think that's so important, is to have that moment of communion before we just use them, right? And I think that's a big theme in life and in society, right? Where we're just using things but not building that reciprocal relationship. And that's what causes things to break down. So I know Eva Maria was out in the sunshine, and her phone reheated, and it probably turned off because of that. But it is just so powerful to be in her blooming presence, and it is such a present. So we will be hoping to have more of these sessions going further, and the respect and reverence that she takes with the plant medicine is unmatched. It truly is so beautiful. And oh, here she is again! Yay! Yay! Back!
My phone got too warm, so I had to put it in the freezer. But I took it out of the sun, so I feel like
You're in the
that's
shade now.
I'm in the shade now. Yeah, I'm by the apple
Okay.
tree, so that's right. You can see all the
Okay,
nice
the apple tree
flowers.
has summoned you.
Yes,
This
yes,
is how
yes.
loudly plants speak to Ava Maria. Or maybe how, I don't want to say that they speak louder to you. I think it's because you have built that reciprocal relationship with them. Even their whispers seem loud to you because you've engaged in that.
Yeah, I feel, at least for me, many people can come and be like, wow, what is it you do and how do you do that? And that's really special. And in my perspective, what I do isn't actually that special. It's human.
Mm,
And we all have that ability, but some train it and some forget it. You know, we all have our blessed forgetfulness in this life. And so I feel that of course I have my flavor to it, right? Which
right.
is my unique flavor, which nobody else can get because that's mine. But everybody else has their own flavor to it. And I feel like that's so beautiful with plants, that it really is about relationship.
Mm,
Like any other relationship, like, and my relationship to you is going to be different than your partner's relationship to you, right? And so it's not really about who has the best relationship. You know, we don't have to put any sort of kind of competition in there. It's simply like, let's explore. When we do interact with nature from that space of reciprocity, give and take, respecting boundaries, like wanting to give something back and not just
mm,
receive, but be in the dance, then we learn so much about relationships. It can teach us so much about how to interact with other humans as well, from a way more respectful place. And so I feel that we just have all these teachers all over. Again, you know, the dandelion doesn't try to be a sunflower. All
mhm.
of them are what they are, and they're so beautiful in their unique wildness. And
Right.
that for me is one of the essential things that I want to help people attune to when I work with people with nature. It's like, it's not about following this other path that someone has set out for you, or like, it's the wrong
Yeah.
tradition, or this is the right way and this is the wrong way. Like, there's a reason why we're so diverse. There's a reason why we all got our different flavors. And unfortunately, or at least that's part of the journey, we've all lived in a way where we had to hide parts of ourselves away to get to feel normal, to get the love and the recognition that we wanted to have, whether it was in our family or in our school. Like, that has been part of the journey. So now we're all sitting as more grown-ups, quote unquote, and having to reclaim that, having to re-find that childlike wonder in the world and interacting with each other and ourselves in a more kind way. And the plants are amazing at this. Nature is amazing at this in a tempo that's actually natural for ourselves and not following somebody else's tempo.
I love that so much. I think it's so special that you mentioned this about sovereignty and every, not just us having sovereignty, but knowing that each plant also has that, and to really be able to tap into asking for permission, and even for permission to give an offering, not just
Yeah.
here you go, this is what I brought, but opening up the space. Is this what you would want to receive? So I think that would be a fun question to ask you. What have you found are, again, in your unique flavor, what have you found that are important offerings that feel plentiful when you are
Yeah.
relating to the plant world?
Yeah. So essentially, everything we have comes from the earth. The food we have, the clothes we're wearing. So the only thing really that we can give, I mean, we can give offerings of beautiful flowers, and I'm not saying don't make an altar, like those are beautiful. But for me, there's like, if we really go to the essential, what can I give that's truly mine? I can give my sweat. I can give my tears, my water, I can give my prayers. I can give my songs. I can give my presence and my time.
Yeah.
Like in a relationship with a human, what matters more, that you're there for me when I need you, or that you buy me a box of chocolate? Like, please buy me a box of chocolate as well. That's great. but what really matters is that you're here with me, you're sharing your presence with me. And so for me, that's the main thing. Like when we can give from us with, and it's always about the intention, right? That's really when we work with anything, I would say, but really also shamanically with plants, it's all about the intention. Why am I giving this? Am I giving this because I think I have to? Am I giving this because I want to have something? Am I giving this out of a pure joy? And where does it come from in
Right.
me?
Or
And I know, like,
to escape something.
yes, exactly. And I think especially if we go to, so there are different ways of working with plants, right? There's the more soft ways, more nervous system ways, and these local plants. And you can also go a little more witchy and doing tinctures and oils and all those kind of things. And there again, you got to have a relationship with the plant. If you're making calendula oil, but calendula doesn't give you permission, you're going to have a physical oil with no energy in, which is how, 80% of our consumerist product,
Right.
and probably more.
You have
That
a
it's like
plant
just
body
taking.
without a plant spirit.
Yes, exactly. And also to say that then there's also the ways that where you go deeper into allyships, like really cultivating friendship with nature, or you go into dietas, which is like emerging. It's cave in the Himalayas and like meditating with Buddha, right? Another, a depth of that. And in those practices as well, a lot of them all over the world, whether they work with plants or not, they have similarities of like, we fast. You don't eat a whole bunch. You're in silence. You're in solitude. You meditate. And you can do that with plants as well, which is like a highway to presence and also a highway to the divine and a highway to connection with plants. And I just wanted to come back to this thing of like, why do we do it? Because we can again go in to then fasting and giving up. So giving the gift to the plant of not eating,
Right.
of not doing something that you really do. However, if that comes from a
Right.
place where you're actually punishing yourself, or you feel like you have to, I mean, that gift is still a gift, but I truly don't feel that nature or any, like, our soul really wants us to punish ourselves. That's us doing it to ourselves. It's not the
Yeah.
plants. And we don't need that. We don't need that in the relationship.
Oh, that's so special. Yes, it's like our gift. Our gift is our self-control. Our gift is coming from a loving place. right? To even fast from a loving place and really listening to our body. And I think
Yeah.
the all that you said about the offerings is the time and presence. We all have this at our disposition. We don't have to get like super expensive, uh,
Yeah.
anything, and so it feels so attainable. And I think that's like you said, you like to build bridges, and I think this is one of the ways you build them, by making it feel really accessible. And we can all, if we don't have the luxury or the time or the intention or disposition to actually go as hardcore with a 3-month dieta like you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah. Exactly.
what is a way someone starting could could carve out some time to spend with a plant? And yeah, what's your wisdom?
Thank you for that question. I'm just moving around because now my neighbors. How do I get out of the noise of it? Wait, I'll go over here. I think we'll see. No,
We had
I'll
we
try
had
to
a
go in
little
here.
bee visiting us. It was going around the little mint plant, and I was like, "Oh, hello!" Bringing the sweetness, bringing the
We-
the community. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I would say the best way to start is like any other relationship. You spend time together.
Mhm.
So you go and you sit with the plant. And I think many people believe that if they want to connect with plants, they have to consume them. It's like, in no way did it say that you had to eat. Like, if you want to be with me, you don't have to, like, you, you don't have to, like, get a chunk of my energy. You can also just be in my presence.
Right.
And it is the same with, so the first place to start is like, if you want to, connect with birch, or you like a big oak tree, you go and sit with it. And before you just go and hug it and like lick it or whatever, get all close and personal, you might want to take a little step back and be like, hey, I would like to hang out. How does that feel? And we humans tend to like yes more than we like no. And thus a no or a maybe is a really good place to respect.
Yeah.
Or to respect the slowness. So that doesn't mean that all trees are going to say, don't come and hug me again. They're super generous. But when we interact with nature in this way, we learn something really precious about boundaries. And that's why it's important to get to know
Yeah.
each other and to see it exactly like you would a person. You go and hang out, and then you start like getting to know each other, getting to know each other's energy, and like, how does it look? How does it smell? Maybe how does it taste? Oh, what can I do here? And I would do that before I would go Google anything. Because once we
Mm.
start Googling, what does dandelion do? What is the
Yeah.
properties? How should I use it? It becomes a mind thing, and it
Yeah.
becomes from somebody else's experience. And there's enough knowledge out there. What we want to have is embodied wisdom. We want to
Hmm.
have it through experience. So you can definitely Google things, but start by going and experiencing it yourself. And most plants, I mean, you can check out, is this a poisonous plant? Then maybe I'm not going to eat it. But otherwise, if that could be a good idea to maybe check out. But if it's a plant like dandelion, there's nothing going to happen by eating a leaf. It's actually quite good for your gut bacteria and for your digestion with the bitterness in it, right? And yeah, so hang out and try to be central together. Taste, smell, like go into the senses, and then this is about listening, right? About intuition, about that space where we start opening up for our imagination, which is so beautiful. I feel like that's one of the precious gifts working with plants. They work with the most beautiful thing that we have. They work with our love and they work with our imagination. So when people are like, is this just me? Like, am I making this up? Or is it the plant? It's like, yes, you're
Yeah.
making it up. But how did the idea get to you? Like, how did it drop into your system? Like, where did that come from? Of course, the
You did
plants
the
are working with
facilitation. Yeah.
yeah, so of course they're working with what you got already. That's perfect and beautiful, and so go hang out and how do you like to hang out with people and plants? So not like what anybody taught you, like this is how a ritual should be and this is the right way. Like no, that's
Exactly.
conditioning. how do you, like when you asked me, when do you feel the most blooming? So how does it feel nice for you to be in relation? What is the plant inviting you to? Oh, I really want to sit next. Oh, I want to lay down on the grass. Okay, and do that. And be curious about it. And spend time. Spend time. We can't just like snap our fingers and then there's a relationship. Like with humans. It takes years.
And it reminds me, how the element of earth is slow and steady. And so it's the same idea of building that relationship in a slow and steady way. And, there's these amazing friendships that we have in life. And when we think back to it, it's the little things added over time, the consistency, versus one moment where I said, I bought you 10 bouquets of roses, my dear friend, that really make the difference, the little showing up consistently. And so as the element of earth is slow and steady, it kind of gives us a little hint of how that relationship could be built up, to be sustainable, right? To last long, to be in flow. And I think it's so beautiful. I really want to highlight that you said that it's so important to sometimes get a no from a plant, because that is a huge offering, to be able to respect the no. It's such a big gift it's giving us. And it's also a big offering because we are not used to that, in a place where we can just go buy any herb and it's yes, right? No permissions required. So I think that it's important to highlight this, because it is expected that we get no's. It is not personal, and the earth would never do something to be like a mean girl and try to put you down. It simply is, maybe this is not the right moment for you. This is not the right pace at which I want things to evolve. And then check in later. So I think that really feeling that no from a place of sincerity, and allowing it to not affect your ego, like, oh, how dare this plant not want to connect with me. I think it's so
what
special.
am I doing wrong?
Exactly.
And I think it's very normal when especially when people start, like in Danish you would say sange, like when you start going out and gathering herbs and you want to do things. Oh, I want to make pesto out of this thing, and I want to make an oil out of this thing. The normal thing is that they harvest way too much and make way too much, right? And so there's this thing, and that's part of the journey. We got to learn how much of this oil do I actually need. Do I even use it? Like, that's totally fine. We experiment, but then experiment small things. And again, no judgment. It's a very normal thing that we're like, oh, but I want to do this now, and then I want to harvest all of these. And if I really listen to my intuition, I've had it so many times in the beginning, so now I do my very best to listen, which is for me the art of life, and what I really care about, like how deep can I listen, right? And like, okay, so this plant is saying no now. Maybe sometimes it really has been like because there wasn't enough time for me to use all of the plants, so then it would just rot in my fridge. Like sometimes there's like a really practical reason. It's like, no, you're actually attuning to the plant and you only need this amount. Like, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's not because the plant don't want to connect with you. It can also be like, these flowers are more potent in a week, not today.
Right.
Like,
yes.
It's like, it really does not have to be, personal in that way. That is, when we listen in, because it's not just all woo-woo. I mean, yeah, sure, but a lot is an energy, but energy is real, right? In this way, that the listening is also like attuning to the cycle of nature, to the cycle inside of us. It could also be like, are you going to harvest these like 2 kilos of plants and then get your menstruation the day after and then not being able to do it? And then they're laying in your fridge for a week. Why not wait? Then, like these kind of things of like, what is the cycle? And then, oh, there's a big spider here. I mean, you look nice, but I kind of don't want to have you on my leg. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe Lena, or if anyone that's connected wants to ask a question about blooming presence, just to take the opportunity to connect a little. So if any of you want to ask questions, you can pop it in the chat as we we continue weaving this together since the since the spider reminded us to make a network. So
Mm,
a little
thank
invitation, yeah.
you.
If there's anything that we want to say, and um, I think it's so so beautiful and so sacred to slowly and surely make this connection.
Mm,
Um, because honestly, like it makes me emotional, and I feel it like here in my chest that this is one way in which we can be so empowered to heal the collective and to heal the way we use
mm,
and abuse of the planet. And so it
mm,
is really by these rituals and starting small that true
yes.
change can be made. And again, oh, that was beautiful. The sun just shined on my face like, yes, yes.
Ah, nice.
I'm like a little blinded by it, but I think this is, and again, this is my flavor too, because I know there's tons of people that would do it differently or would do it through, different ways, activism or art or whatever. But this is also one way that I feel really personally connected to, that so much healing is possible. And so it makes me really want to cry because I know it seems like we're talking about something small, but I feel in my chest, in my body, how the ripple effect is so grandiose, and it makes me
Yeah.
really feel like it's an offering to these plants that we work here today,
Mm,
being able to talk about them and share them for whoever is here live, for whoever joins later. And so I feel really grateful to have met you, and
mm,
to get a glimpse in this beautiful reciprocal relationship that you have, um, it with plants, and that I know that carries out in many other parts of your life.
mm. Thank you. Thank you. And I really agree with you. This thing that for me, this is activism. For
Mm,
me, this is one of the biggest rebellions we can do
mm,
towards a system that we disagree with. It's
mm.
not going to fight this. It's not fighting this. I mean, you can do that if that was you want, but like it's like coming back into that sense of belonging, coming back into true relationship within and around, right? How do we truly also live with when we have different worldviews? Like, how do we truly find that compassion to be okay with that, because that's going to happen, how to truly be okay with diversity and not try to do monoculture inside of our minds or in our
Right,
collective or in our garden, right? And so like how in nature, yeah, again, so for me, like sometimes I can feel, yeah, it's like, oh, but there's all these worries in the world, and what about war, and what about da 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 da, and I'm like, well, this is not like a little thing that we can talk about afterwards. This is the thing that it's going to heal
right,
why all of these issues are there in the first place, because so many of them comes from the disconnection from the earth, disconnection from ourselves, disconnection from each other, right? And
right,
so working with connecting home in ourselves, in the web of life, that is going to help solve the challenges. And I truly believe that human beings that step out of that stress and fear and fight place, and that place of disconnection, when they come back into a space of connection, that's where they can make the best solutions. Like that's where
yeah,
creative problem solving happens. So like again, yeah, this is not like a side conversation. I feel like this
right,
is the foundation for everything else. For how do we do economy? How much do we use? What do we use? Like all of that is part of the conversation, which
yeah,
which I feel like is in the foundation of what do we build our things on a foundation of just taking whatever we want, or do we build it on on a dance of give and take?
yes. Exactly. And of course, in a relationship of give and take, things expand. So one plus one is actually three, you know? So it's
Mm,
not just two, but because that reciprocity is honored, it actually grows even more than the parts separately, right? So the
mm,
definition of synergy, right, is
yeah.
translated to like one plus one is actually three, because when these parts come together, that's when they can be in more full bloom. And I know there's
Yeah.
examples of this in in gardening, right, where you can grow certain crops together, and they actually help each other to be able to bloom in their essence. And so it's so
Yeah.
special, because really what we're talking about here is very human aspects, right? Is being able to stop, pause, and really listen, and
Mm-hmm.
non-attachment of their answer, right? Being able to still be in harmony, even if your expectation isn't fulfilled.
Mm.
To not take things personally, and to really respect our own boundaries, because there's so much resentment, even from overdoing it and abusing ourselves. And then again, maybe if we are overdoing it with a plan, there's a message there that we may be not listening to our own body. So it all unites so beautifully in so many themes of life that I feel like have the impact to, in ripple effect, to really make a big shift. So yeah, I know
I
that we're
agree.
closing. I the clouds kind of came and put the put the shade. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling that it's getting time to that close. So I'm wondering if there's anything else in your heart that feels nice and expansive that you want to share.
Mm. I want to say thank you for the conversation, and thank you to anybody who joins in and listening. Is there anything I want to share? Yeah, what I do want to share, I said it before, but I would like to say it again, that I find it so precious that we can reclaim our own roots, our
Mm,
own way of doing it, and not get caught in the game of hierarchies or the game of right and wrong.
mm,
Now I love when you work with any craft, like to get support. Support is super helpful and needed. Like there's a reason why as a therapist you got to do supervision, right? Like you got to do that. And it's the same within any like healing work. I feel like it's so important that we build ecosystem up around us where we are supported, where we get to get support and be part of, like no plant is standing completely alone, and we should not either. And
mm.
so while that's like on one side, and then also to say, can we build this ecosystem up from that place where I'm not, going and training as a dandelion and realizing I'm a hawthorn, and like, finding our own way. And I think for me, this is the time for that. This is really the time to like, yes, learn with humbleness. Yes, find teachers and go your own path in your own way, in your own relationships, in your own wild authenticity, and be wild. And when I say wild, I don't mean crazy. I mean wild like a forest, like natural as it actually
Mm.
is, not as we want it to be and how we cut it to fit into anything. Like that, those times are over. We don't need to cut
Goodbye,
ourselves up in
molds.
those ways. Huh? What
We're
did you
saying
say?
goodbye to the molds.
We're saying goodbye to the moles, yeah, and those follow us. I mean, we can move to a mountaintop or to the jungle, and they're still going to follow us, right? So it's really about the moles inside of ourselves, the stories that we have inside of ourselves, and I think that's like such a precious gift when we do slow down and when we go into that listening, and that when we want to learn from plants, we can actually learn that about ourselves. We can rewrite those stories, and again, nature is so generous with us, and we don't have to do it through pain. It can be pleasurable. So, I remember you and me had that conversation another day when we said, when is the time to go for another therapy session or go for guitar lesson? And I would
Yes,
say do both, right?
right.
Do both, but also like sometimes choosing the guitar lesson is more healing. It can be. Again, depending on the intention, if it's an escape, and again, I would say do both. But yeah. So I just wanted to mention those kind of two ways that like really get support. You don't have to go through any of this alone. We're all part of an ecosystem. So whether it's support from nature or from other humans, like all of it, do all of it and find your own way, your own
Yes.
voice, your own roots, your own wild way, your own relationships to it. And that's where it blossoms. That's where it blooms, in my
Yeah,
perspective.
this is so beautiful, because I really feel it's so important to have mentors like you in this work, because this is
Yeah.
what we need. We don't need the overwhelming, this is step one, this is step two. This is step 3. And then another teaching from another culture says, no, that's completely wrong. This is the right way. It is so overwhelming. It is so heavy to our nervous system that for many of us, it will lead us to just say, forget it. Never mind. And so I think it's so beautiful to honor these beautiful ancestral teachings that give us hints of how it can be used, and to honor them and give them gratitude, but to also, since we're in this era of being our own teachers, to also bring in, even first and foremost, right? Energy first, our connection to this first. This is what I believe, and I want a teacher that helps me explore this, and also gives me very important biology tips of like how this plant actually works and how I can best help it and help it grow, and make sure that I'm not doing harm to my soil, but also again to be able to have someone like you on their side. I think it's special to aspiring medicine, plant medicine workers, light workers, or to anyone that's wanting to really build a reciprocal relationship in their life, right? Maybe there are people that feel like they're taking advantage of too much. Maybe there are people that feel like they overgive, and maybe there are people that feel like they've been hurt so much that generosity is not coming easy for them. And so, even if it comes from that space of growth first, I think I think you're like the teacher for them. I think you're the special person to connect them, and I think these are some of the symptoms they may be feeling that may direct you to them. And so I think it's just cool to know for people that watch this, and if they relate to any of these things that are in the way of reciprocity, to be able to reach out to you, to listen to your songs on Spotify, and to connect to that energy of what you are. And if they want to work further with you, I know you have a beautiful, beautiful program coming up, which if you want to give us a little quick glimpse into that creation, I think that would be a really cool note to end on, because there are, you really embody like the spectrum of like being able to work with plant medicine in the lightest way, and in very, very structured, disciplined ways too. And so I think it's really neat to know that you do have a way of flowing and knowing what the person needs within that spectrum. So yeah, I would love for you to tell us how we can connect to your energy, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. So the smallest thing maybe being to listen to your music and whatever else you want to share of the biggest thing that you're working on right now, like retreats, like one you just had in Egypt, guys. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you so much for your words. I really, really appreciate them. Yeah, I think from the smallest ways, you can find my music on the Spotify. My name is Eva Maria, also there. Go on my newsletter. In my partners, I work with my partner Stefan, partner in life and partner with the plants. And so what we are working on right now is that we're going to have an online offering, actually a 6-week plant allyship that starts the 6th of May. Where we're going to help people connect to one plant at a time, and really going into this yumminess of like magnetizing and working with the roots and working with radiance. So we're growing roots and radiance, and I'm really excited about it. And then I just also want to mention that me and my partner, we've been thinking about this for years, and now we're slowly, well, not slowly because we've been going through it for years, but now we're like in the soon going to start recording it, doing some more things for couples. And that's that's super exciting for me, working more with that sort of deep emissions in the Swedish forest of like dieting birch and oak and pine to small things online. And I know if I was a really good salesman, I would sit here and say like, go on this one thing, but I'm like, you know what, there's so much beautiful things in life. So if anybody do feel like working with me, just reach out and we can have a conversation about what makes sense.
Awesome.
Of how I can support. Yeah.
Do you have Do you have a cool song that you would like to recommend? Maybe that feels like in the theme of what we spoke about today.
I mean, I'm actually starting to record my second album, so all of
Yay!
those would be there. But I would maybe go for Traveling Soul, it's called. And it's actually my
Okay.
mother singing choir on it. So Stefan is playing drum, I'm
Oh,
playing guitar and singing, and then my mother and my aunt are singing choir.
oh,
Yes,
a
I would go for
beautiful
that one.
co-creation.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Traveling Soul, right?
Traveling Soul, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Traveling Soul by Eva Maria. Check it out.
Mhm.
Feel into the beautiful energy and wisdom she has to share with the music. I imagine a lot of times she records, she had some cacao or some beautiful teas or a flower bath, so it's all infused with a lot of plant spirit goodness too.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right, beautiful. All right, Eva.
Thank you.
Um, is there anything else that you feel is in your heart that you want to share? Any maybe a little exercise of blooming presence you want to share with someone so that they can bring this into action, or a short little vocal exercise you'd recommend, or where we could find that in your Facebook or something.
Yeah, again, I would say go to our newsletter and we send things out. But what I would invite you to is take a moment and sit where you're sitting, wherever you're sitting or standing, and tune into your breath. And instead of doing your breath, try to see if you can receive it. If you can actually allow it to come to you, not try to chase it, not try to do anything for it or prove anything, but really receive it. Receive it as a gift from the plants, from the trees, from all these beautiful beings that are creating oxygen for you. So you're breathing them
Mm,
in. And when you're breathing out, you're giving them the gift of what they need. And so see the breath as that answer of reciprocity that's already happening without you having to
mm,
do anything. This is reciprocity. Back into it. Can you actually lean into the trust that you are gifted your breath? So that is what I would advise you to do.
mm. Thank you for that beautiful gift. Okay, so if you guys like these, we will make some more. So leave us some love or questions here, and we'll see you soon. Keep blooming.
Thank
Keep
you.
blooming in reciprocity.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, that's true blooming, right? That's how it actually
That
works.
is how it is. Let's go for it. Mwah. Thank you so much, Ava Maria. It was such a
Thank
blooming
you.
joy to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you.